Welcome back to Blue Collar Coder. I'm Jack Harrington. And as you might know, we recently released a book called Practical Module Federation. And as part of that, I've been thinking a lot about how to get module federation into a new environment, like small projects or maybe large projects that would work within the existing ecosystem but show the benefits of module federation. So we did one video on live preview in CMS, which I think is a great way to get into module federation. We did another video on resilient header footer, which is awesome and solves a lot of problems when it comes to the header footer and sharing it in a microsite architecture. And there's one more that I think might be interesting, and maybe more later, and that's A/B test. I think that that's really uniquely suited to doing it within module federation. It solves a lot of problems and makes it really easy. So let's just jump right into the code and try out A/B tests in module federation. So I'm going to create a directory called AB. And then we're going to go in there and we're going to dget the starter project that I use in a lot of these. This is my starter React project. So it's now a template, which is awesome. And I'm going to call this one host. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this placeDog placeholder, which is awesome. I love this. And we're going to go and create different variants, two different variants of this dog display. So they're going to have different borders. They can be visually different. And so let's get this going. Let's go back over into the shell. So now we have a directory called host, and we'll bring up VS Code. And this is a pretty standard project. So it's got a Webpack config in it. It actually does have the module federation plugin ready to go. Other than that, it's pretty much standard. You got a CSS loader, a style loader, Babel loader. Really nothing all that interesting. And then over in the app, we're just going to put up there, hi there, I'm React from React. And we'll start that up. I'll install it first. And then we'll start it up. Okay, pretty standard stuff. So let's go build out our test page. So I'm just going to put a little div at the top. It's got a nice little margin on it. So it's 800 margin auto. That'll put it in the center of the screen. And let's see. All right, and then let's add a place for the dog. This is a cute dog. You should really adopt me. Cute, okay. Now let's go and build out our frame, the first version of the frame. So all we're gonna do is take a dog as a source image, and we're gonna go build out basically an image tag. Let's just go and say, leave some space for a variant. So we're just going to say variant A. And within that, we'll have another one, which is image, where you give it the source. And we give some styling. Let's see, let's make it, give it padding a little bit. And let's give it a nice big border. Got to get this right. This is critical. Things won't work without this being exactly right. Let's see. So let's make the first version green. And we'll also bring in any style stuff and drop that in there as well. And then any additional props, make it a nice general purpose component. You can imagine using in all kinds of places. But we want to see if people like the, all right, oh, there you go. If people like the one with like a big solid green boundary or maybe a dashed red boundary, which one people prefer. So let's take that frame And we'll drop it in here. We'll give it a source. Let's go find a nice source. So go over to our place dog, and we'll put this in here. So that's going to give us a 500 width by 280 height image, and let's give it a 75 is the dog that we want. I have no idea what that's going to look like. You'll find out as soon as I do. Width, and that's mainly just to make sure that we don't bounce around. All right, let's take a look. Hey, oh wow, it's a cute corgi. Oh, nice corgi. Okay, okay. So now we've got our frame. And we basically want two different variations of this. So we're gonna go and take this out into a file, and we'll call it frame A. This is gonna be the A version of our test. So we're gonna need React. And we need to export that just like as we would any other component. We're not doing anything that we wouldn't do in any normal application already. And then we'll import that from frame A. And then let's go make a frame B as well. And to do that, we just copy and paste that and create a new file, frame B. Also a JSX file. And let's see, we want a dashed. How about blue? Let's make a green versus blue. How about that? And we'll call that frame B. And let's drop that in there as the variant that we want to see at the moment. Oh, that's gorgeous. Kind of complementary, I guess. Got a nice red kind of collar there, or harness. Okay, so now we got A and B. We need to go and create a test system that's going to pick which one of these we want to show. So let's go and first specify what our tests are. So we're going to create a new thing called tests. We'll say that the first test, test 1, and we'll give it an array. And these are different variants, so A and B. And then we need a chooser. We need something that we can use to choose between these things. So we're going to call that one variant chooser. And you're going to give it the test name, which would be test 1 in this case. And then the variations, which are the different components that would implement that. And then any other props. We'll just pass those on. All right. And so the first thing we need to do is choose the variant. We need to select a variant. So selected variant. And we want it to be persistent. We don't want to do it every time we refresh the widget, so the component. So now we're going to go into test. We're going to say we want that the test that's specified as a prop. We want which one of those. So we're going to use math.floor and then math.random times the number of tests. So we're doing floor to convert it back to an integer because arrays like integers. And also we're doing floor because we don't want it rounding up. It might round up to 2, and we only have 2, so we want 0 and 1. So we got a selected variant. Great. And then from there, we want to go and get the component. So we're going to go and say, within variations, we want the selected variant. So we want, A or B. And then we're going to return the rendered component with the props. It's really that easy. So we're just going to select one of the variations and then render it. So how do we use this component? Well, so we're going to go over here and we're going to change it. Well, just change out for, yeah, that works. Okay. So source and style are going to go on as props. Now what we need to do is we need to say, okay, so the test is test 1, which maps to here, test 1. And then our options are A and B. So let's go see variations, right? Oh, look at that. Nice hinting. Our A is frame A, and B is frame B. Right? Okay. And now every time that I refresh the page, I should see a different one. So random being what it is, get a bunch of A's there, get some B's. Okay, looks pretty random to me. Oh, we can also change this. Let's change frame B so that it actually says variant B in there. All right, great. Yeah, there you go, variant B. So it's doing the right thing. There's some interesting research on how our perception of randomness isn't actually random. Random actually has more, doesn't seem as random to us. Okay, so we've got an interesting engine now, and we want to go and take these and bring them in, because let's go over here. Let's take a look at the network right now. So if I go over here to the network, I'm just bringing in source app webpack. That's the bundle basically. There's React, there's vendor bundles and all that, but this is where the real source is. So the problem right now is that the customer gets both variations regardless of if they've chosen one or the other. So we don't want that. So how are we going to fix that? Well, let's go over and let's go into Webpack, and we're going to change this to home. And we're going to say that we have ourselves as a remote. This is important because we're actually going to import ourselves. So we're going to also export the source frame A and frame B. Let's go and change that out. Frame B. Okay. And now to make that work, now we got to go and include a header tag to that location. So localhost. And then what am I on? So let's go back over here. Just got to make sure I'm on 8080. Okay. And that's called remote entry.js. That's specified down here in the file name. I can just copy that in there if I want to, just to make sure. And let's start it back up again and see how we go. Okay, looks like we haven't broken anything. We certainly are getting variations. That's great. Now let's go over to the network, and we see that we're not actually getting frame A and frame B, and that's because we haven't changed those imports yet. So let's go and bring those in from home. Let's try it again. Ah, great. Okay, and we can see some difference. Now we're getting source frame A and source frame B. Awesome. But of course, we're still not lazily loading it. So let's go and change that out. So let's go and change this to say, want to lazy load that. So we're going to say React lazy. And then we're going to import asynchronously frame A and frame B. And now if I run this now, it's going to blow up. And the reason is because we're not actually wrapping our lazy component in a suspense. So we need to go do that. We need to say React suspense and then give it a fallback. Say I'm going to loading variant. And then close that tag. Okay. All right, looking like we are good. So let's take a look at the network again. Aha, so I've loaded B, and the only thing I've loaded is frame B. So this is great. I mean, it's not hugely important in this case because this is not a lot of code, right? But imagine if you actually had a substantial amount of code that would implement the A variation versus the B variation, or extra stuff that was being included. That would be a big deal. So this is great. But now, what if we have multiple applications that want to use our variant system, right? Generally speaking, you got a microsite architecture, got a bunch of different microsites. They each might want to individually run A/B tests. So let's go and extract the underlying structure here, variant chooser and tests, into its own application. So we're going to call that A/B manager. So A/B manager. And I'm not doing this in a mono repo. This is in the same place. Actually, hold on. Let me go and get out of this. So we're in the same directory, in the parent directory. So you can see both projects simultaneously. That makes it a little easier. Cut this in half again. We'll go in home on one side, host on one side, and we'll do AB manager on the other. But now we really want to work on AB manager for a little bit. So let's take a look at this. We're not going to be doing any HTML work, so let's get rid of that. 8080 is already taken. Let's go over to 8081. Not going to be doing any CSS, so let's get rid of that. And let's call this AB MGR. And the reason that we're using that, or we could say AB manager if we wanted, but whatever, that's fine too, is that notice I'm specifying var here. This is actually putting this value, this is where all of the remote entry is going to be put on window.something. And in this case, window.ab manager. So if I put in a dash in there, that would be interpreted as a minus. Not going to work. So it needs to be a valid variable name. And wow, JavaScript's really permissive in terms of variable names, but no minuses. So, but what we can do is we can alias it. So internally, I'm gonna say AB manager, like this, and then this is what webpack's gonna do to remap that. So when we say AB manager in the code, what we really mean is window.ab_manager. Okay, let's go take a look over in our code. Let's remove the CSS. Don't need that. Don't need that. This guy, yeah, okay. Let's just make it export default is a function that returns true. Something super simple there. And let's go back over here into our code. So we got our app, and we want to go and take that variant chooser, and we're going to go and replicate that. Actually, let's just cut it, because we're going to bring it in. And we'll call this variant chooser. And we'll just replace a lot of this, and then export that as the default. Okay, now that would work except for the fact that we have this tests, right? So we need to bring in tests from somewhere. So let's go and grab those as well. And we're going to create another one. So this just shows the power of Federated Modules, and that we're exporting stuff that's not UI based as well. We're going to export this, and there's nothing, this is literally just configuration code essentially, right? So that's pretty cool. So now we need to export tests, and from tests, and we also need to export variant chooser. As well. Great. Okay, so let's go check out variant chooser. Now we got to import tests from, and this is interesting. So we're going to use AB manager tests. Now we could do /tests like that, but that would bind variant chooser and tests together. They wouldn't be deployed independently, and I want to be able to change tests without actually updating variant chooser, because if you're in like a release change window or something like that, you might be restricted from making code changes, but configuration changes will be okay, and therefore you might want to hold that tests out. So let's save that, and I think we're pretty good here. Oh wait, hold on, that's probably not going to work. All right, we'll do one pass, a little less little pass. All right, let's install stuff. I'm optimistic. Mildly. Oh, okay. Well, we didn't blow up. That's a good sign. Let's take a look at our remote entry. And remember I said how it's a variable name. So literally you see it. var AB manager, AB underscore manager, and then AB underscore manager equals that. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to go over here and change our host so that we go and get that code now from this ABE manager, so that any application can then use that, which is great. Actually creating our own little A/B test system right here in this video. How cool is that? Okay, let's go back over here, and we're going to import variant chooser from AB manager, variant chooser. But, we don't have that in there yet. We don't have it defined. So again, we need to do the same thing we did over in the other application. Say AB manager is AB underscore manager. Okay, let's start that up and see how it goes. Okay, that looks pretty good. Nice. And it's going and getting, let's see, let's take a look over the network. Yep, it's getting the variant chooser from probably 8081. So it's got the remote entry over there. Variant choosers coming off of 8081, indeed, as is tests. Great. So during the live stream, and I definitely encourage you folks to show up at the live stream. They've been really fun getting people's questions answered about this. It's, it can be confusing, so it's good to get your questions answered. One of the things that have come up is around static deploys. How do we do static deploys? So what we're going to do is currently 8081 is being served off of a Webpack dev server. We don't want to do that in production. We want to do it statically. So let's go over and I'm going to close a bunch of windows here so it's easier to follow along. We'll go over here to AB Manager and we'll look at the package JSON. And we got this mode production. So it's trained to mode development, so it makes it a little bit easier to see. And we will run build in this directory. And that's going to basically be what you do before you go and put this out to S3. So and that's going to create a directory called dist, which would be what you'd fire up to your assets stuff. And that's got a bunch of, it's got the source for variant chooser, it's got the source for the tests. And now we can say on port 8081, run npx server. And that's basically a cores-based static server. Run it again, and now everything's great. And the reason being that this local, right, matches what's over here in the Webpack config. In reality, when you do your build deploy, right, you're going to want to make this whatever your asset, wherever it's going to go in the asset world. So assets, mycompany.com, AB manager, and it would then have your, all of that, right? And so that, and the reason that this is really important is that if you look over here, right, we load the remote entry first, but the remote entry doesn't have these source files. So it had to go and create script tags. We had Webpack 5 created script tags for us to load in all this code because we imported it. So, and all those imports are done with absolute URLs, and they have to be right. And those absolute URLs are relative to whatever this public path is. It's really important to get that right. Okay, so why is this interesting? Well, let's just get, if, for example, let's just say B1. We really like, what is it? The blue dashes. We really like the blue dashes. They convert better. People are adopting more dogs. It's wonderful. Life is great. And now we just want to keep it. It won. So we're going to go and push up a new version of the code, but we're only going to push up the tests.js. We don't want to change out variant chooser. So I'm going to imitate that by just VIing this and show you how rusty my VI skills are here. I'm sure any VI person could just blow my mind on this. All right, we'll just get rid of all that and save. And now it's only ever going to vend B anymore. And that's really cool. You could do a partial push. So you're not actually changing out the code of the variation manager, of the AB manager. You're just pushing out the new configuration. So that's really neat. Okay, but I'm a big believer in unit tests. So how do we go and how do we test this, right? Because this is a problem. If I want to go and test this variant chooser code and maybe do some snapshots of it in Jest, right? How am I going to resolve this AB manager? So I'm going to go and back in here. Actually, let's just pare this down to one window. And now we're going to get into testing mode. And I'm going to add Jest and Babel Jest. to this. That's going to bring in our testing system. And Babel is what allows us to go and run through that through Babel. I know in advance that I've got to go and add in env here. So let's go and add that. Okay. And I'm going to go create a new folder called tests. And within that, a new spec. So variant chooser, spec.js. And I'm going to import React. We need that. And I'm going to import our variant chooser. You know what? I'm going to import it from AB Manager, variant chooser. Because in all honesty, right, I also need to resolve it because of this. So it, let's see, should render the A variant. And I know you're probably like, hey, wait a second, how do you decide always to do with the A variant? It's a random number. Jack, what are you doing? Well, okay, I'm going to make a small concession to make it testable. And I'm going to allow you to specify the variant. Actually, you know what? In reality, you're probably going to want this anyway. You know, product managers always want to send, you know, links to the different variations to their folks and say, oh, you know, this is what A looks like and this is what B looks like. And so there's always something in the URL that allows you to go and push a particular variant. Okay, so let's Google for React test renderer. Because that's what we're going to use to go and test out, do some snapshot testing. So actually, probably better to just React snapshot test. Yep, this is better. Okay, great. So actually, we're going to do something a lot like that. And we'll just save that out. Pop that code in there. That's not going to do well. Okay, this is looking somewhat better. Okay, so variant chooser, and we're going to say we want variant A. And we want to create a variant A. Variant A is just a simple div, you know, variant A or something. We'll also make a variant B so we can make sure that it is deciding between two things. And we'll say variations A is variant A and B is variant B. Okay, let's go and add in React test renderer. Okay, let's start that up. Oops, let's let's test that. Okay, I didn't add a test. Let's go and add that. So test jest. It's always fun. Right. Okay. So can't resolve AB Manager. So what are we looking for? Well, the problem is that we need a plugin for resolver. So we need a Babel plugin for resolver. Because we want to resolve this on its own differently. So we want to say that when you see AB Manager, what we really mean is source. So AB Manager is really just source. Okay. And then we want to install that. of this because that's not correct syntax. Oh wait, hold on. Sorry. That was right syntax. Just I hadn't actually added plugins. Lost that. Great. Whew. I think it's because I used npm as opposed to all right, let's try this one more time. And I got the resolver in there. That looks good. Okay, let's go, take a look at this again. Plugins, module, let's try this one more time. Okay. And we want this to be AB manager. And that links to source. Okay, let's try this one more time. Great. Take a look. All right, it did indeed render variant A. Awesome. So now we have testable code. And we could easily say it should render variant B. If I just change this to B, and then change this to B, let's rerun it one more time. All right, there we go. 2 snapshots written, really good, awesome. And so what you're gonna find is every one of your tools is gonna need to be aliased, but all of the standard tools, ESLint, everything else can support this aliasing, so it's no problem. And you know, sometimes you would need to alias Webpack, but in this case, you don't need to alias Webpack because Webpack is the one that's doing this AB Manager aliasing for you. All right, well, as I say, this is part of an interest in doing practical module federation projects. It's part of this book that we've been writing, and I have interest in making sure that you have the tools available to you to try out module federation in your organization or your ecosystem. Okay, well, if you have questions or comments, be sure to put those in the description, in the links in the comment section down below. And in the meantime, if you like this video, just hit the like button. If you really like the video, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and you'll be notified anytime a new one of these videos comes out. In the meantime, be happy, be healthy, and be safe.